Welcome to Lucidity Insights podcast, where we talk about the ins and outs of the emerging market tech ecosystems here in the Middle East and Africa. And I'm your host, Erica Welch. I also happen to be the Chief Content Officer at Lucidity Insights. You may be asking yourself, what is Lucidity Insights? Well, we're a data and insight streaming platform specialized in investigative deep dive reports on the Middle East and Africa's startup ecosystems. We tell data-driven stories in the format you want, whether it's reports and articles, infographics, videos, or podcasts like this one. Check out more at lucidityinsights.com. So this episode has been created to inform you about our special report called The Future of Fintech in Africa. Actually, our team at Lucidity Insights were also quite surprised to find that this has been one of our most widely shared, downloaded, and read special reports to date. I guess everybody's got Africa on their mind. So it's fitting that our first ever episode is dedicated to this report. So we're going to kick things off with the trailer to this special report to whet your appetite.
One in every 5 people on the planet calls Africa home. Yet over half of the population remain unbanked. And did you know that 70% of Africa's economy is fueled by small and medium businesses, but over half of them lack access to financial services? These are some of the reasons why fintechs are making waves in Africa's entrepreneurial scene. Out of over 800 scale-ups in Africa raising over $1 million, a third of them are fintechs. They also dominate the unicorn landscape, with 6 out of the 7 unicorns born in Africa being fintechs. This is the story about Africa, one of the last frontiers for fintech entrepreneurs. Discover the race and challenge in embracing the fintech revolution, as told by the top stakeholders in Africa. Learn all about the transformative journey Africa has embarked upon to achieve financial inclusion in the latest report, The Future of Fintech in Africa.
So not everyone has time to read an 80-page special report, as much as I and my team wish you did. And so I'm going to do my best to give you a highlights reel of the key findings in this report. So let's start with the basics. 18% of the world lives in Africa. 18%. That's 1 in 5 people on the planet. That's the same population as found in China and India, and they all reside in Africa. But if you look at this info bite right here, you can see that 1/3 of the population resides in 3 countries. That's Nigeria, Ethiopia, and Egypt. Take Nigeria, for instance. It has 213 million people. And the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, or the IHME, produced a world population peak report in 2020. And it projected that Nigeria's population would become the 2nd most populated country in the world by the turn of the century, right behind India. And I must say that The Economist recently published a reanalysis of this projection, and they found that it was likely that Nigeria's population would grow to 550 million instead of 791 million. But either way you cut it, Nigeria's population is going to be the second or third largest in the world by the turn of the century. And let's not take this lightly. While some of the world's leading countries are shrinking in population size, and I'm thinking about Japan, Korea, China, and even India to some extent, Africa's population is growing. And this has consumer tech, in particular, quite interested. But let's not gloss things over here. There are some challenges. 70% of Africa's GDP comes from small, medium enterprises, but over half of them lack access to financial services. And if SMEs are in this boat, you can bet startups are in the same. But we've also seen in the last decade amazing potential for scalability across Africa. Take mobile money, for example. Half of all registered and active mobile money accounts in the world are in Africa. That translates to roughly 600 million registered mobile money accounts, of which over 160 million are active. We spoke to Mark Elliott, Division President of Sub-Saharan Africa for MasterCard, and he said, today, 11 Sub-Saharan African economies have more adults in possession of mobile money accounts than financial institution accounts. Let that sink in for a moment. There are more people in Africa accessing financial services through their mobile phone than they actually have bank accounts and are working with, institutions that we're all familiar with. The thing is, Africa is the continent where you see time and time again markets leapfrogging technologies. 20 years ago, I saw this firsthand when I did an internship in Togo and Benin in West Africa, where there were very few households that actually had landlines. And the only way to contact people were through mobile phones. People had never even used a landline before at home. And now we're seeing that with banking and financial services. Very few Africans have access to financial services through a bank. They don't have bank accounts, but they're using fintech to access financial services for the very first time. Okay, so that's it for episode 1. Stay tuned for episode 2, where we take a deep dive look into the unicorns of Africa. If you're already inspired to download and check out the full report, you can grab it at lucidityinsights.com.